listening to the M.A.D Podcast, making a difference with Leroy and Emma.
You are listening to the M.A.D Podcast, Leroy and Emma, and making a difference is what this is all about. You can listen at your leisure, and you can go and listen back later on. This is the good thing about a podcast. You can re-listen. Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Bang on, pal.
Now, you've brought a special guest in this evening.
I have. So something that you and I are all about, Leroy, is being authentic and real.
Yes.
And I have had a psychologist for about 6 years now. She's a fabulous woman. And I
Hardly
thot...
fair. I don't have one of them.
No,
I
that's
might
why.
cash in
That's
on yours.
secretly why I brought her in, so
Yeah.
as she could connect with you and you could start to sort out some of your stuff.
That's where
Yeah,
it's
that's
at.
where we're at.
All right.
So I brought Imogen in. Hi, Imogen.
Hello.
Welcome to the studio, to the podcast.
Happy to be here.
Don't stress. You
Yes,
look all
you're
tense.
stressed.
Yeah,
What's
I'm,
going
I'm,
on?
I'm
Just
feeling I
loosen
need
up
to be
a
very
little.
professional.
No, there's nothing professional about this
right.
podcast.
No couch in here.
Okay.
Nothing
No,
like that. Or
this is
Just
not the
keep it-
therapy
keep
room.
it nice.
Keep
Can
it nice.
Can I ask, is that a myth? Like the whole couch thing? Is that a myth? Or
Well, people
laying
do
down on
expect
the
a
couch.
couch
Yeah.
sometimes, but no, in my counselling room we don't have a couch so much as we've got two
There's-
uncomfortable chairs.
No, they're quite comfy.
They are not too bad.
You've added a couple of cushions
We've got
lately.
cushions,
That's helped.
yes. I got them from IKEA.
Yeah.
I thought that was
Appropriate?
Well, I think IKEA's comforting. It makes
I
us all feel organised.
tell you what,
Yeah, it
I know
does.
we're in the middle of a counselling
Yes.
segment, but the bloke who invented IKEA, I seriously want to shoot him with an Allen key. That is dead set.
Why?
Like where it's because I just
It keeps us women happy. Shouldn't
No,
that be making you
it's-
blokes happy?
It needs a map for starters.
It does need a map.
and you can only go around there one way. Anyway,
I know,
sorry,
that is annoying.
I'm
The
completely
arrows. No,
derailing the podcast.
that's okay.
As you were.
So we're talking about authenticity. We're talking about, we like to talk about the real issues. So I thought, Imogen, why don't you just come on in
Right.
and we can start some conversations about real stuff that goes on in people's lives because
Ah.
you would be someone who sees this day to day in your counselling practice.
I do get a lot of real problems.
Yes.
Real pain. Sadly.
Yes.
Sometimes real laughter too.
Oh, there's been plenty of laughter, just quietly.
That's good. It's good. It's good to
laughter
see there
is
is
the best
laughter.
therapy, isn't
Yeah,
it?
100% agree with that.
Yeah.
Humour is very, very good.
Absolutely.
Let's talk relationships, though.
Yeah.
Relationships. Well, I'm a counselling psychologist, so I do a lot of work with people in relationships, family, siblings, friends occasionally, but lots of couple counselling is one of the things I do.
So what's some of the stuff that people would come in terms of their maybe romantic relationships? If we focus there. What's
Well-
some of the common things that keep coming up within the counselling space, so to speak?
Sure. Well, I guess people don't get to couples counselling because things are going well, unfortunately. So I'm meeting people when, it's some of the worst hours of their life. There might have been an incident, they might have lost a baby or somebody's died, but more often than not, people are coming to see me because they're in extreme and really painful conflict with each other that's not resolving. I think couples fighting is something that happens to everybody. If you're in a relationship, you fight with your partner.
Oh, absolutely.
You might fight dirty, you might fight hot, you might fight cold, but you do fight sometimes. It's a normal part of being in a relationship. But most of us are embarrassed about this. We don't want to talk about it. We see it as a sign of failure sometimes. And when you fight, I've had clients now with iPhones and smartphones, you can tape record each other.
Yeah.
So some of my clients will bring me in and show me exactly what's happened
No
and
way.
who's the wrong person.
They've made like a reality
Yeah.
TV show of this and shown you.
I know. Yes.
Is that a healthy thing to do?
Well, I think when we're fighting in a couple relationship, it can feel like life and death, and there's a very specific reason for this, which we might come on to in a minute.
All right.
And so you want someone to see your side of it. So I think that's why people are tape recording it, so saying, "See Imogen, see what she did, see what he did."
Yes, they're wanting to be visible.
It's
Hear
my
me,
pain
listen
that's
to
what-
me.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You were saying earlier before
Yep.
we started recording about some of the, psychological subconscious reasons as to how you maybe find your partner and the reason why you maybe have fallen in love with that particular person. Do you want to talk us through that a bit?
Yeah, let's have a think about that. So there's a very specific reason that you fall in love with the one that you do fall in love with. Because this person, we want them to love us back in a particular way, but we also want to kill them on occasion.
I'm so glad I'm normal. This is
And
making me
nobody
feel normal.
admits to this, but this is the truth of it.
Yeah.
So the reason you fall in love with the person that you do is that they actually remind you of the best and the worst experiences you had being parented as a child.
Oh, I think you're spot on.
Isn't that deep?
That's
That might take
deep.
a little moment to sink in.
It just takes a
Yeah.
little moment because we learn how to do relationship from being a child, being parented, being mothered and fathered.
Yeah.
And most of our parents are a bit imperfect, unfortunately, though we don't want that as a child, but they fail, they're human. And when that failure happened, there's losses in childhood. You know, you were not seen, emotions were not dealt with, hurts were not soothed. And we carry all this baggage into our future life with a partner in an adult relationship.
Is this why we tend to say things like, "Oh, I'm not going to do what my parents did," or I find myself being what I have experienced with my parents"?
It's hard, isn't it? Because like everyone's got difficult memories of their childhood being overly disciplined or humiliated or abandoned or left, you know, at the shops one day, for example,
in the rain,
softball practice,
maybe not picked up from
Is there
school on
something-
time.
is there something you want to talk about, or-
regularly.
We've all got a memory like that, and for you as a kid, that's like life and death. But
Yeah.
for your mum, it could have been that, you know, she was running late from picking up the other kids from somewhere else. But for you, it was like, where's mum? And these things stay with us. And when we fall in love with our partner and they fall in love with us, we unconsciously swap that baggage that we've picked up in childhood of those unmet needs, that love that didn't happen, that reassurance that didn't happen. And we all unconsciously expect our partner to unpack our baggage, wash our dirty laundry, fold it, make sense of it, and hand it back to us nice
I'll
and
tell you what, if
organised.
that's the case, my wife's going to be there for days.
Years, pal, I think, with you. Golly.
Well, but everyone's got a history, you
That's
know,
exactly right.
and that's nothing to be ashamed of.
No.
It's just that this is part and parcel of being human. It's part and parcel of being an adult.
And I guess it sort of might look like, you know, people saying we trigger each other's stuff. You know,
Yeah. Yes,
if you're a bit, you know, self-aware of your issues and your history and your childhood, and you can see that this person, or is that the point that you sort of want to get to know yourself well enough to go, okay, this is my trigger. So when he does that sets me off inside because of A, B, C.
Well, when couples arrive at my office and they want to kill each other, and there's deep pain sitting in the office, you know, so your partner, when you get in conflict with your partner, it's often you're having two completely different conversations. One of you thinks that you're talking about taking the rubbish out, and the other one thinks you're talking about that day that mum left you at the shopping centre and nobody understands how much pain you're in. But so you're both screaming at each other about something that you're barely aware of yourself. So in couples counselling, there's a challenge to look inside yourself and figure out, what am I bringing to this conflict? What am I really trying to say here? So conflict with your partner can be a trigger to help you get to know yourself better and to be better at being yourself.
Like it. That's
I
beautiful
love it.
to finish.
I
Beautiful
know,
to finish.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Bang on.
Absolutely. Love to get you back in at some point.
Yes.
Be good, Imogen.
Jeez,
Please.
That'd be fun.
Have we
Jen.
scared you off, or are you keen to come
Well, I
back?
just checked my schedule.
She's a
I've
very
got an online
organised
booking
woman.
system.
Oh, very nice.
Hey,
Well,
that is something though. Upway Psychology is Imogen's practice, and I have been a client of yours for about 5 years, and I'm telling you, she's very, very good. I mean, look at how together I am now.
Emma, you are one of Upway Psychology's success stories. That is true.
Oh lordy, Leroy's thinking, no, like
I just
Well, it's
need
a process,
Cup of tea.
B.
That's all I need right now. All right. That concludes the podcast for today. Imogen,
Yes.
thank you so much for coming
Thank
in.
you,
Thanks
my
for
dear
having me.
friend.
Pleasure to have you in. And Emma, always a pleasure to have you in.
Oh, ditto, pal. Right back at you.
Hopelessness, mental illness, youth suicide, teen pregnancy. The M.A.D Podcast with Leroy and Emma.